Don't make waves. If there's anything to be learned from our short feminist bios, it's that being different and voicing an opinion that does not conform to the status quo is enough to make your life very difficult. And all you get in return is lifelong respect, the knowledge that you have given something to this world, and the legacy as a leader of change. So goes the story of Angela Davis. Education was in Davis's blood, as her parents were teachers, and she excelled in school herself, both as a student and a professor. The only problem Davis had was that she refused to tolerate traditional inequality and challenged the justice system itself, viewpoints that tend to alarm those traditionally in power. Davis was influenced early by her teachers and friends, choosing a stance of what the mainstream would call militant or radical when it does not parallel a white patriarchal mindset. One of the people who influenced Davis, while she simultaneously influenced him, was George Jackson, a member of what were called the Soledad Brothers, the name of the prison in which Jackson was incarcerated. Davis's main pursuit was actual justice in the justice system, which saw far more people of color than whites, an ugly truth still apparent today. It was the trial of George Jackson that would change Davis's life and end the lives of some others involved. Jackson's trial resulted in bloodshed, during which 4 people were killed right there in the courtroom, including the presiding judge and George Jackson's brother. Authorities called it a failed escape and kidnapping attempt. Police claimed that Davis was in on the planning, and she was accused of the major crimes related to the incident. But Angela Davis didn't stick around to experience for herself the justice system which she so loathed. She was on the run and became a familiar face at every post office in the country on the wall of the FBI's most wanted list. After successfully hiding from authorities from August to October in 1970, Davis did eventually stand trial on the charges of conspiracy, kidnapping, and murder. She was jailed, without bail, for 18 months awaiting trial, usually housed in solitary confinement, where only those with the strongest of wills can mentally survive. Davis overcame what is now considered cruel and unusual punishment by writing and practicing yoga and karate, as if she wasn't dangerous enough. Her isolation was justified due to her, as authorities claimed, dangerous ideas. However, there was a groundswell of support for Davis, who denied planning the event that occurred in the courtroom. The prosecution tried to paint her as an integral part of the attempt, going so far as to present as evidence rumors of Davis's romantic interest in George Jackson, rumors likely started by the prosecution itself. And yet, despite the stacking of an all-white jury in her California trial, Davis was acquitted on all charges. Ronald Reagan, future president and the governor of California at the time, vowed that she would never again teach as a professor in California. Ever respectful of Reagan's decision, Angela Davis immediately taught again as a professor in California, for 12 years in the 1970s and 80s at San Francisco University. 1991 saw her hired as a professor of consciousness at USC Santa Cruz, and in 1995 she was appointed as a presidential chair. In 1997, Davis announced that she was a lesbian, nailing the coffin on the earlier prosecution rumor that she was romantically involved with George Jackson. Other later evidence also cleared her name. While she fought against all stripes of discrimination, Davis's main focus has always been the industrial prison complex. She founded the organization Critical Resistance, which concentrates its efforts on prisoner rights. As white Westerners, it's difficult to imagine any other system than our current legal system, which includes for-profit prisons, creating an economic demand for the incarcerated, often at the expense of people of color and the poor. In this way, prisons became less about punishment and rehabilitation and more about making money. A lot of money. Davis has written several best-selling books, including Women, Race, and Class, and Are Prisons Obsolete? And in 2008, she received the highest status as a professor emerita. Angela Davis is still on the lecturing circuit, bringing her wisdom and experiences to new generations. But time is fleeting. Who will take her place? Thank you to the Smithsonian Online, NewYorkHistory.org, Britannica.com, and thehistorymakers.org for content assistance in this podcast. Images are courtesy of the Smithsonian Online and NewYorkHistory.org.